Hello, Commanders, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous Journey Across the Galaxy. Today's topic is going to be my thoughts on beginner accessibility to the various forms of things that you can do in the game. But before we get to that, we need to go through our standard spiel for those of you who are new to the series. We are on our way out to Beagle Point. We've already crossed through the Galactic Center way back over here from the bubble on this side of the galaxy, and we are making our way off in this direction towards where Beagle Point is. Let's go ahead, get off the ground, get moving on towards our destination. Get moving on towards our next jump point. Not really sure, based off of where it looks like, yeah. I was going to say, based off of where the direction towards our next jump, it seems like the planet's going to be occluding that. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to climb out a little bit before we're able to jump to the next object. For those of you who are new, we are working on our exobiology skill, trying to get up to as high up in the elite ranks as we can get, with a secondary goal of making a lot of money so we can go buy a fleet carrier and end up taking residence out in the black. With the hopeful goal that we'll be able to take a few people along with us. That would be kind of fun. Let's see, I'm not sure exactly how high up we're going to need to get to be able to jump onto the next system. Still waiting for the occlusion to go away. Come on. Come on. Oh, I hate this part. It's very hard to know. I'm trying to maintain a 45-degree... Jeez, man. There we go, finally. Alright, so there is a there's a very repetitious pattern that we follow when we are doing the actual gameplay portion of this. We'll hop into the system, we'll do the discovery scanner to see how many systems are, or how many bodies are in the system. We'll check the full spectrum system scanner to see if there are any high-value planets, those being Earth-like worlds, ammonia worlds, and water worlds. And then if there are 15-ish or less bodies in the system, we'll do an individual scan of each planet to see if there are any biological signatures available, so we can go land and scan and do all that kind of cool stuff. So let's go through the process real quick. Pop in that discovery scanner. 4 bodies in this city, or 4 bodies in this system. Unfortunately, it does not look like we're going to have much luck. Got to throttle down to use that. Nope. So we're going to move on to the next system, and hopefully we'll find something there. We will get to the topic in just a moment. I just kind of want to get through the first couple of systems here, and then we'll start talking about beginner accessibility to the various different types of gameplay that you can do. Really wish that they had some different travel options other than just hopping from star to star. It gets very repetitive and boring and requires a lot of active input. Whereas if you were able to just do some kind of like galactic super cruise, you could set it on a direction and just keep going off. And ooh, there's a lot of bodies in this one, but that's way too many for us to do an actual individual scan. We will still check the full spectrum system scanner to see if there are any high value planets. So as you can see, the filter thing down here will tell you, but unfortunately, there's nothing in the valuable area there. So we're going to move on to the next system. So as far as beginner accessibility, for those of you who are thinking about getting into the game or just starting in the game and trying to figure out what it is that you're going to be doing, there are basically 4 different types of activities that you can participate, 4 main categories of activities that you can participate in. Obviously, there's combat, which is what a lot of people come to the game for because they want to go do space fighting. You can do exploration, like what we're doing right now, where you go out into the galaxy trying to find cool new things or just, find interesting things to look at. There is trade, where you can, which has a couple of different categories, but basically you're trying to get big cargo ships to move valuable goods from one place to another and trying to make a profit while you do it. And then the 4th one is, I'm spacing out now. I can't remember exactly. I can't remember what the 4th one is. Combat, exploration. And now I'm trying to focus on this, so it's twice as hard trying to remember what the 4th thing was. There was I know there's a 4th thing. It's just my brain is not pulling it up now. I should have made a list or something. Oh, of course it's on the other side. Let's pull forward a little bit. See if we can find it. Combat, exploration, trade, and I can't remember what the other one is. Mining. I knew there was another one. So, you know, each activity that you want to participate in is going to have a different type of ship and different requirements and you know, a bunch of different things that you have to consider when you're trying to get into it. Let's see. Geological 3, that's not what we're looking for. This is not the signal you're looking for. Sorry, it's very hard to focus on doing this and talk at the same time. And I don't want to hop into one of the categories and then get interrupted because something interesting happens. So let's finish this. Ah, there we go. That's what we're looking for. Just make sure there's not a better planet. All right, we're going to be in this system for a while. We can't pass up 2 planets that have 3 biology each. There's 3. Jeez. Okay. Well, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere outside of this system. All right. Well, that's good. It'll give us a chance to talk. All right. So the first of them, obviously, is going to be combat, which is what a lot of people associate Elite Dangerous with. They want to get in a ship. They want to go fight things. They want to go blow things up. And, you know, as far as beginner accessibility, all of the different categories pretty much have the same entry-level kind of setup. So you're going to be doing different things at different experience levels and at different money levels and at different ship levels. So you're going to start out in a Sidewinder, and if you're trying to do combat, you're going to really struggle to do that because the Sidewinder really just isn't really great as far as being a combat vessel. Now, take everything I say in the combat category with a grain of salt because I am not super into the combat. I haven't spent a lot of time doing it. I have a couple of ships that I've outfitted for combat. I know how basically to set a ship up to do the play style that I like to play. There's a bunch of different ways you can set your ship up, from high DPS blasters, blasting type things where you're firing single shots and taking away huge chunks of health. There's the pecking at them method where you're just firing a bunch of small rounds that just deal a bunch of damage over time. You know, there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about doing combat, and it's going to depend on the way that you like to fight. So, as far as, you know, accessibility for the game when it comes to combat, I think there's a very large learning curve when it comes to that because there's just so many different ways that you can approach it. So that being said, I'm certainly not going to try to provide any kind of specific advice because I'm not into the combat part. You're going to want to start out doing missions related to combat, and when you go into the mission area in the stations and all of that stuff, they'll be laid out in different categories for the different kinds of things that you can do. I highly recommend starting off with some easy missions to get you kind of going and learning how to move your ship around, target things, shoot at things, you know, all that kind of stuff, because it takes a little bit of learning to figure out getting the ship on target with whatever control scheme that you're using, and then B, learning to move around in 3D space, because most of us are used to, especially if you're used to shooting and stuff, you're not really thinking about how it's all 3D space and you can move in all different directions. So it takes a little bit to learn how to do that. Let's go ahead and get this scanned, and then we'll wait for that. So I know some of you are going to be disappointed that I'm not going to go too deep into the combat side of things because that's what you're interested in, but I don't spend a lot of time doing combat. It's very boring and repetitive in my opinion. So we have Tussock and Frutexa. Yeah, all of that's all over the planet. So we'll set Frutexa as our thing that we're looking for. Get our Super Cruise Assist turned off, and then we'll head in towards this and try to find... I mean, I guess we'll go up at our 12 o'clock to one of those big patches up there. So that's all I really have to say about combat. You know, what else can I say about it? It's, you're gonna have to find somebody who really does a lot of combat related stuff to, if you want to get a really good idea for how accessible it is and how easy it is and what tips and tricks you can get for trying to get into it. Okay, I'm trying to really focus right now because we don't want to come in too fast. So I think what we'll do is we'll come down at the edge here. So that way we can turn around if there's no Frutexa up here in the mountains. And then obviously I think one of the easier categories to get into is trade, and there's a couple of reasons I say that. First and foremost, you don't really have to have any crazy skills to be able to do that. There's no real learning curve as far as learning how to pilot your ship well, learning how to aim at things, all of the technical things that come along with having to, you know, manipulate a spacecraft in a combat environment. So obviously, I think trade is probably the easiest. Well, yeah, I'd say it's probably the easy with the tools available to you as a trade person, especially in the form of you know, websites that help you find materials and at good prices and set up routes and things like that. There's a lot of that available. Well, there was. Now I think all that's left now is Inara, I-N-A-R-A, and which is unfortunate because there was EDDB, which was really great. All right, we're gonna get the Tussock here since it's right here. Okay, can you let me land, please? Oh, that was it. There we go. So basically, all you need is you need to find a ship that gives you a really good cargo the biggest cargo capacity you can afford, and then if you can get on Inara and look up their trade route tab or links or whatever it is that they call it, it'll tell you what routes you can take, what materials are available. It'll suggest some routes to use, and you just basically just go where it tells you to go, buy what it tells you to buy, and sell it where it tells you to sell it, and you can make a pretty decent amount of money doing that. So the only thing you really have to look at is what kind of ship do you want? Do you want a dedicated cargo ship, or do you want something that has a little bit of teeth to it, or, you know, what is it you're trying to get out of your cargo ship? All right, hold on. Here we go. So I think that as far as levels of accessibility, I think trade is probably the most accessible to new people because there's just not a lot to it. It's very simple, very direct, and if you know the tools and resources available to you to make that even easier, well, you know, you can make a lot of money in a relatively short amount of time in a relatively safe way that doesn't require you to learn, you know, spend hours and hours practicing a skill. So there's that. Mining is probably alright, so I think trade is the most accessible. I think that mining is probably the next most accessible after that, and I only say that, I say that because exploration, depending on how you do it, has a couple of different aspects to it. So I think mining and exploration are probably the next most accessible, and then combat's probably the least accessible just because of all the different skills you have to learn. But let's talk about mining. So mining is very similar to, it's kind of a hybrid between combat and the trade aspect of it. You want something with a decent cargo space, but you also want something that has hard points that will allow you to go and mine the various different minerals that are going to be in the asteroid. Was that the last one? I think that was the last one, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that was the last one. Have we found any bacterium yet? Up. I don't recall having seen any bacterium. Sorry, I'll get back to the topic in a second. I'm trying to focus and. Oops. Okay, if it's any. Oh, here we go. I was about to say, if it's anywhere, it's going to be in this very big patch over here. Okay. So mining is kind of a hybrid between trading and combat, mostly because it involves using your hard points to extract minerals from an asteroid. Okay, I thought we had the third sample there. I just couldn't remember if that was 2 or 3. You have to use your hard points to extract minerals, and then you have to have a decent enough cargo space to be able to stay out, to not have to keep going back over and over again to drop off your materials wherever it is you're trying to sell it. So what you're going to want when you're doing your, especially when you're first getting started in mining, is you're going to want one of the sort of cargo-specific ships, but you want one that has the hard points that you need to get whatever kind of minerals it is that you're going with. Obviously, there are several. I'm gonna have to. Are there any? Just trying to see if there were any bacterium over there. Just need to find another big flat spot. I haven't seen any for Texas, so we'll just find the bacteria and then move on to the next planet. I think there were like 3 planets here that had 3 times biology on it. Okay, oh, there it is. I am using just the keyboard, so if you feel like my movements are erratic, that's why. So, you know, just getting started out, you want something that has a decent amount of cargo space and the hard points and power supply and all that stuff that you need to be able to power all of that. You want to strike a balance between having the power and hard points that you need to, you know, efficiently do mining, so you're not sitting there forever waiting for materials to fall off the asteroid. And then also you want to have enough cargo space available so that you're not having to go back every 5 minutes because you filled up your cargo hold so quickly. But I would say that, you know, if you want to, mining is probably a good, if you're not ready to get into combat immediately, maybe mining is a good way to kind of hone your 3D spatial awareness skills and get yourself set up so that you can, you know, get comfortable with maneuvering in tight spaces and turning your spacecraft the way it needs to be turned to get to the orientations that you need to do different things. Learn how to use your hard points and, you know, maybe start learning how to use limpets and things like that so that you can start using, so you already know how to use limpets in general before you start using some of the more combat focused ones like the cargo hatch breaker and things like that. So there's so many different aspects to mining. Obviously a single video is not going to cover that, and I'm not really trying to do super crazy tutorial videos because I'm not interested. There's plenty of videos out there that can give you tutorials on how to do various specific things that you might want to do. All right, let's check out the map. We're going to go into the next one that had... oh, that's not a landable one. I would imagine that this one, yes. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Come on. So we'll go to this one next. Let's get off the ground, move over to the thing. We'll probably have to save the third planet for the next episode because it's going to take us a little bit to get over to the next planet and do scanning and you know, do that. All right, hang on. Yeah, I will learn to talk eventually. Like I said, I've had several days of break between. I had a several-day break, and it's kind of turned my brain into mush, and there's just a lot of stuff going on in my personal life right now, so nothing bad, it's just a lot of stuff, and I gotta, there's just so many different things that have to be done and get done, and and I've been doing a lot of stuff, so my brain is just kind of fried. Okay, so exploration, obviously, is the last category. And I saved that for last because that's what we're doing here. If you guys have been watching my series, it's because you've been watching it because we're doing exploration. So I'll save that for last. Exploration is personally my favorite activity to do in the game. Mostly because I grew up on Star Trek The Next Generation in that era, the 90s. And, you know, I like being out in space and seeing new stuff, and I think it's kind of cool. I don't even think we need the Super Cruise assist for this one. Yeah, I'm going to turn it on anyway. just to make sure we're nice and lined up with that. And as far as difficulty, the reason why I wouldn't put it at the most accessible, I think maybe it's probably, well, trading is probably the most accessible, then exploration, then, well, I don't know. And here's my thought process behind that. Depending on how you plan on doing your exploration, determines kind of how accessible it is. And the reason I say that is jump range is kind of a primary focus when you're trying to do exploration. So to get a decent jump range, A, you need a ship that is capable of a high jump range. And then B, you need to have access to different modules that take a lot of time and effort to unlock. And then C, you need access to engineering, a lot of engineering to unlock the different engineering skills to extend your jump range even further, being, you know, the increased jump range mod, and then the mass manager and the different sub things that you can put on your ship or on your frameshift drive to increase your jump range. And then obviously the module that you need is the Guardian frameshift booster, which requires a relatively extensive, you have to jump out to a system, go down, hold on, we need to stop here. There's a system that you have to fly out to that's really far away. It takes you a long time to get there. And then you have to land and do a bunch of stupid crap at the Guardian site there, collect certain materials and a bunch of different things. Then you have to fly back and talk to a dude, and it's not a simple process. And then just the engineering materials that you have to collect, and there's just so many different things that you have to do to unlock all of the things that you need to, you know, get your ship to the point where it's capable of 50, 60, 70 light year jumps. Now, the reason that's important is that obviously the distances in the galaxy are vast, and the bigger the jumps you can do, the more reasonable the amount of time it's going to take for you to get to different places that you're trying to get to. Trying to focus on the throttle here so we don't crash. Okay, so again, there's supposed to be Frutexa up here. We'll see. I kind of want to go over this way, so that way if we don't find any, we can go towards the rest of the planet where it said there was everything else. So we'll start up in the mountains here. Oh yeah, okay. Crazy mountains. Get our landing gear out, and we'll start slowing down. Get our night vision turned on so that if there is anything on the ground that's weirdly shaped, the green outline will ideally make it easier to find. But unfortunately, the render distance for everything on the ground is just, especially plant-based stuff. I believe the Frutexa is a plant-looking kind of deal. We'll do a skim over here real quick. Oh, wait. That rocks, or...? It's hard to tell. Oh, that's Frutexa, all right. I don't know that we're going to be able to find a spot to land, though, and I'm not coming back up here with the SRV. That takes too much time. So, this is the problem with Frutexa, is a lot of times it's inaccessible because of the terrain. So, oop, there was some. But you know what? I'm just, as much as I know we want to get it, but at the same time, it's just, I have to do that two more times, hunting around for landing spots. I'd rather just go find the easy stuff and then be done with it. So, are these rocks? Yeah, I think those are rocks. So let's get out here on the plane, and ideally we'll find some Tuxuk again and the bacteria. Ooh. That's why I have shields. I see bacteria over here, I think. Come on. So, yeah. I know if you're not used to these videos, there's a lot of different breaks in my speech because there's just things that are going on and I'm not able to multitask. So, yeah. I think if I'm going to rate things as far as accessibility, I think trade is bar none the easiest thing to get into. It requires very little investment, requires very little time investment, money investment, skill investment. It's just a lot. It's super easy to get into. I think combat is on the other end of the spectrum because it requires a lot of skill to be good at it. You have to have a decent amount of natural talent to be good at it, to be really good at it. And then the amount of money that you have to spend, and frankly, you know, if you're going to have a decent combat ship, you're going to need to do a lot of engineering for that as well. So, you know, that's kind of the upper end of the accessibility spectrum. You know, how hard is it to get into? Combat's probably the hardest, just with the amount of time and effort and money and stuff that you have to put into putting together a really good combat ship. And then in the mid, I think second place is going to be mining, and that's only because the amount of engineering that you need to do for mining, even though there's a skill investment and, you know, you need to get the right kind of ship and things like that, you don't necessarily need to have a heavily engineered ship to be successful and make a decent amount of money at mining. And then exploration, I think, is probably going to be third on the list, and it's only because just the amount of, if you want a ship with a decent jump range, you're going to be spending a lot of time learning the engineering stuff, getting the Guardian module, collecting materials, learning the engineering things that you need to learn to upgrade your ship. There's an extensive process for each of the things that you want to learn how to do. You know, like just your frame shift upgrade thing. You have to go through a whole list of different... Okay, seriously? Can we do that, please? There's a whole list of things that the person who teaches you that wants you to do, and then you have to work your way up to it, and you have to do all, but it's a long list of things you have to do. Oh, and here we go. Here's a tussock that we need. So yeah, so trade is probably the easiest. Mining is after that because of the relative lack of engineering, and then because of the engineering, the exploration is third, and then combat, because combat basically requires you to do all of the above, in addition to learning how to fly well and shoot well and do a bunch of other things well. I think that's probably the way it's going to be. That's probably a pretty fair order in which to say how accessible things are as far as how the game works. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. Like I said, I can only speak from my limited experience when it comes to... Here we go. When it comes to the combat stuff, because I just really haven't put too much time into it. When I'm running around with a dual joystick setup, I can be pretty effective with the combat. You know, obviously NPCs in general don't pose much of a threat to me. I don't engage in PvP because I just generally don't. I don't engage in PvP because I don't like the whole ganking thing. And I can generally avoid it when I am in solo mode. So there's that. I know that's not necessarily the most authentic way to play the game, but with 20 years of playing online games, the jerks that are out there have really just made me want to play by myself. There's a lot of jerks out there. Alright, so we're going to grab this last set of stuff here, and we're going to go ahead and call that an episode. So hopefully you guys had lots of fun. Be sure to click that like button if you did, so that the YouTube algorithm knows and sends the video out to as many people as possible. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so now, so that when the next video comes out, it will show up in your video feed and you'll be able to watch it as soon as it becomes available. Channel members do get early access to all of my content, so be sure to click that join button and check out the list of options that are available there. If you are not interested in a channel membership, consider pressing that thanks button and doing a one-time contribution. Your direct support is greatly appreciated and a critical component to helping to turn this into a full-time gig. So again, thank you very much for your time. Hope you guys have been enjoying the journey, and I'll see you for the next one.